I wanted to talk with you about 5 places I would live with $1,000 per month. I'm going to mention these places in no particular order, and the reason why I've chosen these 5 countries is because you can live there with very little money, so cheap cost of living is obviously very important. Secondly, the weather is great, and thirdly, you're going to have good visa options, easy visa options in most of the countries we are going to discuss. First up, we have the Dominican Republic, a country located in the Caribbean. It is one of the cheaper Caribbean countries, if not the cheapest Caribbean country. In the Dominican Republic, you can definitely live on less than $1,000 a month. While you may not be able to make it happen in one of the more lavish neighborhoods in the Santo Domingo area, you probably will achieve this result, this goal, by living in one of the cheaper neighborhoods. And also other cities around the country, for instance Puerto Plata, are definitely places where you can live on less than $1,000 per month. What's great about the Dominican Republic is, of course, it is a tropical island, so the weather throughout the year is fantastic. If you love tropical beaches, if you love just being outdoors most of the year, then I think the Dominican Republic is great. Food is definitely cheap, and it's just great because you can rent a studio, a 1-bedroom apartment for just $300 to $400 a month. Obviously, it depends on the neighborhood, it depends on the city, so the amount that you pay can obviously vary. But if you can, make it happen and just spend 30 to 40% of your monthly budget on rent, then you can probably make it happen on less than $1,000 a month. And another great thing about the Dominican Republic is the visa system. So you don't need to go with a retirement visa, which a lot of people don't qualify because they just don't have enough income. And getting residency by investment is not an option for a lot of people because it does take over $200,000 in order to make that happen. Now the question is, what option do people have? And one of the most common, one of the easiest options that people pursue is, of course, to overstay their visa, which is a legal option. So you're not doing anything illegal here. In fact, if you land in the DR, in any of the major airports, you will see that you have the option to pay an overstay fee upon your departure from the country. And if you overstayed, say, for 60 days, then that fee is potentially, $45. If you overstayed for a year, then you're going to pay slightly under $100. So, and you could also overstay for 10 years, right? You're just going to pay more in fees, but it is allowed. You are allowed to do that. And that's great because there's not a whole lot of countries on this planet that allow you to legally overstay your visa and just pay a fee upon departure. And that's why I recommend the Dominican Republic in this video. Vietnam is definitely a country where you can live on less than $1,000 a month. Some of the more popular expat destinations in Vietnam include Saigon, nowadays it's called Ho Chi Minh City, Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam, Da Nang, the 3rd largest city in the country, located in central Vietnam. Nha Trang is another city in southern Vietnam that you may want to consider. Then we have Da Lat, a mountain city in Vietnam, which is very interesting to people that are looking for a slower pace of life because they don't want to have, that metropolitan vibe every single day. And it's pretty cheap to live in Da Lat. In case you want to live on a tropical island, then you can also achieve that by moving to Vietnam. And the island that we're talking about is Phu Quoc Island, located in southern Vietnam, very close to Cambodia, in fact. And what's great about Vietnam is obviously that it is a country in the tropics, that the cost of living is really low. So just, as in the Dominican Republic, you can rent a studio or a 1-bedroom apartment for a little money. It's only going to cost you a few $100s a month. We're talking anywhere from $200 to $400, depending, of course, on the neighborhood, depending on furniture, depending on where you're located, but you can definitely make that happen. Have a meal for as little as $3 to $4. That's very possible, even less if you go to like a food market. It's all very possible in the tropical paradise. In terms of visa situation, that's probably the only country in Southeast Asia that makes it a lot harder now for you to get a long-term visa. An option would be, of course, to marry a local person, to marry a Vietnamese. That would be one of the easiest way to obtain a long-term visa. Now I know that's obviously not an option for a married couple that wants to move to Vietnam. Unfortunately, Vietnam does not have a digital nomad visa, and neither does the country currently offer a retirement visa. In case you have a business and you want to establish yourself in Vietnam because you want to hire local employees, you want to take advantage of the Southeast Asian market from within Vietnam, then you can achieve that by getting a 2-year residence permit through opening up your Vietnamese company. Morocco, located in Northern Africa, is a country that I wanted to point out because it is one of the more relaxed Muslim countries, and it's a country where you can say that you can experience just a whole new spectrum of like vibe, because northern Morocco is very different to southern or central Morocco. Northern Morocco has European vibe, especially in Tangier. The city, it's the closest city to Western Europe, to Spain. So Tangier is very interesting, and you can reach Tangier by speedboat from Spain. It's just going to be a very short boat ride. What's great about Morocco is, of course, its proximity to Europe. It's very easy to get there. It's just also great in terms of weather. It's very good during autumn, winter and spring, so the weather is very comfortable. Now you could argue that in a place like Marrakesh, the weather is pretty unbearable during summer, and I have to agree with that. So you really need to like heat if you want to live in Marrakesh for the long term. But there's also other cities, right? There is Rabat, there is Casablanca, there is Agadir, right? Those cities by the ocean. Of course, it also gets hot there during the summertime, but the ocean breeze, the whole vibe is different, and the air quality is great in most of those cities, especially in Rabat and Tangier. Morocco is a Muslim country, so in terms of dating, you are expected to date for the long term. You are expected to embrace conservative values if you want to date in the country. It's not a country where you can just go out there and start hunting women like you do, for instance, in Latin America or Southeast Asia. It does require you to be somewhat conservative in order to, be in the country and not have problems, I want to say. And it's really important because I think it's important for you not to go to a country having the wrong expectations. And that's definitely the case in Morocco. Many Moroccan women are happy to date a foreigner, but they're looking to get married. They're looking for a long-term relationship. And you would have to convert to Islam in order for you to marry a Moroccan woman. So that would be the only contingency. You cannot marry a Moroccan woman as a Western man, as a Christian, as a Catholic man, if you're in the country with her. Of course, if you move to a Western country, it's very different, but that's just something to consider. The visa situation in Morocco is more relaxed than it is in other countries. You get 90 days, and if you want to do a visa run and come back into the country after a day or two, then you would get another 90 days in the country, which is a process that many foreigners use because, they don't want to get residency. But getting residence in Morocco is not that difficult. You can get it through setting up a company, and I've heard even of ways on how Western people were able to obtain residency without a job and without a company. So it is possible. You do need a clean criminal record certificate. You do need to have an address, and then you could just register your Moroccan residence card while you're in the country. Mexico is a country where you can definitely make it happen under $1,000 a month. And the interesting part about Mexico is, of course, the tourist visa system. And now people probably wonder, well, why are you pointing out Mexico and not a place like Colombia? I just think that Mexico is more convenient for Canadians, Americans, because of the proximity to home. It's easier to get there. You can even drive your car across the border. And, if you want to leave any day, you just drive back home. You cross the border again. So that's very convenient. And the good part about doing this, if you cross via one of the northern land borders, is that you can actually pick up the 6-month tourist visa at the visa office right at the border. And that worked every single time for me personally. It worked for my friends. So I have some friends that don't pick up residency because they're not sure about whether they want to live in the country yet, and they have to get an appointment at the consulate or embassy, or potentially they don't have enough savings or don't have enough income, whatever the case is. But if you want to get residence in Mexico, you would have to apply it at the embassy or consulate in your home country. And that would be how you do it. Otherwise, the tourist visa system is fine. The good part about Mexico is, of course, its diversity. Mexico is a very diverse country. Central Mexico is very different to Mexico's Caribbean. Mexico's Caribbean is tropical throughout the year. The winters are slightly cooler than in Southeast Asia, but still, it has the tropical beaches, it has the tropical vibe. So I think Mexico's Caribbean is great for people that are trying to get out of the cold weather. But I have to say that Mexico's Caribbean is not cheap during the winter time because there's so many people from Europe and North America traveling to Mexico in order to get out of the bad weather and also to have just more quality of life, and that's why it is more expensive. But I would say Central Mexico is interesting. Weather-wise, it's much cooler, especially if you live in a place like Mexico City or Querétaro. It's much cooler. No tropical weather there. Those are all mountain cities, so it's not for everyone. It's for people that really want that kind of lifestyle. But you can live in Mexico on $1,000 a month. You can potentially make it happen in the Caribbean if you get a long-term rental contract. You can make it happen. You can probably get a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom apartment for, I want to say, $400 to $600 a month. It would definitely stretch it. Would have to live more conservatively. Eating out in Mexico's Caribbean is not necessarily cheap if you live in one of the top tourist destinations. If you live outside those tourist destinations, it can be and will be much cheaper. Generally speaking, central Mexico is much cheaper. It's more historic, it's more colonial, it's more cultural. It's just a different feeling to live there. It's cheaper also. Last but not least is Thailand. What's interesting about the country is that Bangkok is the most visited city in the entire world. Thailand has built its reputation over the years. People from all over the world visit Thailand, not just during the winter time, but throughout the year, because the cost of living is reasonable, it's cheap, depending on where you live, of course. Certain areas of Bangkok can be more expensive. Westerners love living in Thailand because, first of all, the cost of living is much cheaper than it is in their home country. So even if they just come to Thailand for say 3 to 6 months, they're going to save a lot of money. Even if they, find an apartment that they rent by the month, or if they do an Airbnb, it's usually still much cheaper than anything that's available back home. So on $1,000 a month, you can definitely make it happen in Thailand. Food is very cheap in Southeast Asia. It's cheaper than in certain places in Latin America, and you can eat out, say, 2 to 3 times a day and probably not spend more than $10 to $15. If you go to the right places, it can even be cheaper than that. A lot of people that live in Southeast Asia full time, they don't like to cook because food is very affordable. It's very delicious. There's a lot of variety, and the outdoor lifestyle appeals to so many Western people that they just don't want to leave the country anymore. The most visited places and where expats tend to live in Thailand are, of course, the capital Bangkok, then the mountain city of Chiang Mai, then of course we have the island of Phuket, but then there's also other places like Pattaya or Hua Hin where many foreigners tend to settle down. There's a couple of ways on how you can stay in Thailand for the mid to long term. If you want to do it through an EDU visa, an educational visa, then you can sign up at a local school. That visa will typically cost you anywhere from $700 to $1,000, maybe $1,200 a year, and you could live in Thailand for 1 year. Then you would need to leave the country, come back in, and repeat the cycle. But that would be an affordable way on how to do it, because you would end up paying maybe $70 to $100 a month for your visa. What a lot of people do is they would just apply for a longer tourist visa in their home country. So they would do it for 6 months to get a 6-month visa, and that's what they use to live in the country. That's another option in case you have a bit more than $1,000 a month and you can prove it, or you have savings. Then you could also make a deposit into a Thai bank account and get a retirement visa, and you're going to have that retirement visa until you withdraw your visa, until you give that up. And it would be a great way, because if you just transfer money into a Thai bank account, that money is there, and it's not really a donation to the government like the Thai Elite visa is. And of course, if you have monthly income to prove, you could also secure a retirement visa this way. Which of the discussed countries is your favorite? And are there any other places where you could easily live on $1,000 per month that we could potentially discuss in a future video? Leave a comment below and let us know. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. I'm uploading new videos on digital nomad locations, travel updates, and investment advice several times a week right now. And if you got some more time left, check out these videos.